Hi all, another graphics card benchmarking session. So as with the HD Trouble 70, I'm using same test setup, i.e. an i5 8500 CPU, 16 gig of RAM and SSD. So this is an Asus R9 255 graphics card. It's got 2 gig of DDR3 RAM, DDR3 being the limiting factor here, unfortunately. So this is a low spec graphics card, but it's just a test to see what we can get out of it, and it might be within your budget. So what I'll do is I'll run Heaven and Valley graphical benchmarks and report the findings, and also run a few games. Now we're going to be recording the games on Bandicam, so allow for a downshift in performance of between 5 and 10%. Right, so let's get on. Right, so I've run the graphical benchmarks Heaven and Valley, taken the same settings, resolution 1920 by 1080 and quality low, and switched off any other settings like tessellation, and we're getting a score of 756. Minimum and maximum difference is not too bad. Minimum 19.9, maximum 49, average of 30 on Heaven. So on Valley it scored 1064. Minimum and maximum, again, not that great a difference, but minimum 13, maximum 44, an average of 25. So what I'll do now is run a few gaming benchmarks. First up we have Team Fortress 2. Now I've maxed everything out even more than the HD Trouble 70, and I think probably you want to nudge some of those settings down, because I've got anti-aliasing on the maximum setting, for example. I mean, it looks great, but that frame rate is a bit of a concern. I can see the AMD performance metrics, but as I've said previously, in Bandicam game recording mode, it doesn't actually record that, unfortunately, only in screen recording. But at the moment it's 40 frames per second, which is, for a competitive game, it's not that great, unfortunately. So what I'd do is I'd get some of those settings down and get that frame rate up. And to be honest, I think high is more than enough, because some of those settings could be nudged up to very high. Okay, so that's Team Fortress 2. In fact, what I did is, in the settings, that each value is flagged with an asterisk, and that's the recommended for your machine. So I've selected those, and it's a lot more respectable, 100, nudging 100 frames per second. So I'd let the game decide on the best settings for the machine, and go with that. And on this size monitor, to be honest, I can't really tell the difference unless you look very closely. Okay, so that's Team Fortress 2 with the game's default settings. Zula, so I've maxed everything out on this game, and with nudging 90 frames per second, there's no tearing, so I think we'll be okay keeping VSync off. So I'll just get into Firefight. Get as many characters on screen as I can. It's one of those games where I just test, really. I just need some practice, I think. That's my excuse anyway. But yeah, you're not going to have too much of a problem maxing this out. Let's see if I can get a few more characters on the screen. think I got a kill then. Yeah, so if you want a game that's not going to tax your system too much, max it out. I think you'll be happy playing Zula. Onto Counter-Strike Global Offensive 2. Now, I've had problems in the past with this, so I couldn't record in game mode, so I'm recording screen capture mode. So the metrics should be in the top right hand corner, but if not, I'll talk through it. So I've got it on maximum resolution, and I've got the value video preset to medium. I'm going to drop that down to low, even though the game asterisk that, meaning it's okay for my system. With something like this, just set everything to low and work your way up, and see how far you get a good balance between performance and quality. So I'll pause the video and get into a game. So I'm now in a game, and at the moment it's high 30s. For some reason that AMD counter frame rate is not displaying quite correctly, so just switch it off and then on again, see if it comes up. No. So luckily I've got the Steam count in the top left that I can see. So it's high 30s and there's no firefight going on, so I'll see if I can get a few characters on the screen. One got me there. But say this is playable, but that frame rate count is not very high, so in a competitive shooter like this you want as many frames as possible, obviously, but give it a try and see what you think. Maybe get the resolution down a touch and take it from there. So that's Csgo 2. Onto Fortnite. So I've got the frame rate capped at 30 and the resolution scale set to 50%. So it's not looking great, but in a shooter you want as many frames as possible, really. So there's going to be leeway to experiment. One thing I did notice, that ideally you want more than or at least 8 gig of RAM, because the system metrics are telling me that 8 gig of RAM is being used. So try and get your system up to 8 gig if not already done so. We'll try and get a few more characters on the screen. There's one. So more practice, methinks. Okay, so that's Fortnite. Now Forza Horizon 4 does start, so it must be lack of VRAM on the previous video when I tested the HD 770, even though its performance will be higher than this R9. So anyway, I've capped the frame rate at 30, set the resolution to 1024 by 768, and on the advanced settings I've set everything to low and switched off a lot of the flags. So what I'll do is I'll run the in-game benchmark and report back. So the Forza Horizon 4 in-game benchmark is finished. Target was 30 and it's just a shade under that at 27, so it's up to you if you want to try it. But at least the game started. So that's Forza 4. And don't forget to try any games in that are prior to this, which I'm sure the performance will be a lot better. So that's Forza 4. On to Doom Eternal. Now, same problem as last time. Couldn't get Bandicam to record in game mode or screen capture mode for some reason. But I kept everything at low and all the on-off flags set to off. Resolution scale down to 80, so it doesn't look that great, but I tried to get it as playable as possible. It occasionally touched 30 frames per second on the opening level, but once action started, getting quite intensive, then obviously that drops. So it's up to you if you want to try it out, but I'm sure it'll drop even more once things move outside and the firefights get even more intensive. As I said last time, Doom from 2016 is a superior game anyway, and I'm sure this machine will be able to play that a lot better than Doom Eternal. If you want to try Doom Eternal, feel free. On to FIFA 2018. Now it's on the ultra setting. Frame rate's capped at 60, but I think maybe cap it at 30 or get the quality settings down, because the frame rate's mid 30s. I mean, it plays all right, but ideally you want as close to 60 as possible. But the preference is up to you. So that's FIFA 2018. A Grand Theft Auto 5 now. Now I've got the resolution on 1366 by 768 and all the other settings set to off. So it doesn't look that great, but we're at 30 frames per second in this opening driving scene. So it seems rock solid at the moment, but I'm sure once things start happening it may nudge down a touch. So it might need a bit more experimentation with the settings, maybe the resolution nudge down even more. But you want this at obviously playable frame rates. Maybe if you nudge down the resolution and get the quality up a touch. So it's just a matter of experimenting really. I can't see any pop-ups at the moment, but it is the opening driving scene, so that may all start to change once we get onto some busy areas. Okay, so that's GTA 5. So just to sum up then, I've run a couple of benchmarks and some games on the Asus R9 255 graphics card. Struggled with Doom Eternal, and obviously a few of the other games like GTA 5 need some adjusting, but games like Team Fortress 2 and Zula should be fine with on high settings. So really put everything onto low and work your way up until you find a good balance between quality and frames per second. Now, game record mode doesn't record the AMD metrics in the top right, but I could see those. Screen record mode, it does record the metrics, and for some reason Csgo 2 was recorded in a window, but the screen was full side, what I can see. So if you've got any queries on this graphics card, just drop me a comment. Thanks for watching.